The Mariners have added some left-handed bullpen help. Let's talk about Caleb Ferguson. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Wednesday, July 30th, 2025. This is Ty Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for an emergency episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast, which, of course, is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out, click the link in the description of this episode. So the Mariners have made another trade. Finally, they have reportedly acquired left-handed reliever Caleb Ferguson from the Pittsburgh Pirates for pitching prospect Jeter Martinez. So Ferguson has thrown 43 1/3 innings out of the Pirates bullpen this year. He has posted a career low 706 Ks per nine. Which does come along with a 2.91 walks per nine, which is the lowest mark he's had since 2020. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on and what's kind of led to that. 3.74 ERA, 3.14 FIP, but he has been absolute murder on left-handed hitters this year. They only have one double off of him and no home runs. So that's really cool. And on top of that, you look at his baseball savant page, a lot of red. The things that Ferguson excels at, he is elite at. And he has been one of the best pitchers in the game in those particular areas. So nice little ad for the Mariners. This is going to be a quicker episode because there's only so much we can say about a mid-leverage arm. But still, nevertheless, really nice ad for the Mariners.
Yeah, I mean, this is the JT Chargois of this trade deadline season, where it's a guy that pitches in the middles, gives you a second lefty, so you don't always have to save Gabe Spire for, we really could use a Gabe Spire in the sixth, but we use him in the sixth, we might not have him in the eighth type of situation. Like, gives you that guy, and the way I've kind of learned, as I kind of learned about Ferguson here, is that he reminds me of kind of a mix between Gabe Spire and Bizzardo. Whereas Bizzardo doesn't miss a ton of bats, but he gets a lot of ground balls. He's very dependable. You count on him in tight spots because he's not going to give up a lot of hard contact. He's like Spire in that, he's murder against lefties, and he kind of holds his own against righties. Like, he's good enough against righties that you really want to use him when it's left, right, left, coming up next, or if it's, left, left, right, or right, left, left, or as just kind of that first guy out of the pen to put down a rally, because he's going to get a lot of ground balls and a lot of soft contact. So it's a pretty versatile piece here. You can use him in multiple situations, but he is definitely a middle guy. Like, this is not the high leverage arm that they need. This is a guy to give, Bizzardo more days off, even though he's gotten 3 in a row now. It's so you can save Spire for a more high leverage role, even though you probably need to bring in a lefty for this role here in the sixth. Like, that's who this guy is. He's a good ad. He's a quality veteran, been around the block, pitched a ton in the big leagues, and is having a very good season. It's kind of a reinvented Caleb Ferguson, but the results are still really good, and the results are actually better than even than they even look. When you look at things like ERA, the expected numbers are way below that. The FIP's below that. The expected batting averages are below that. It's just a really good ad. Like, there's nothing wrong with this ad. Again, he's not the high leverage guy that you need. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he's just a good pitcher. He really is what Saucedo gave you the last couple of years. And unfortunately, you just can't trust Saucedo to give you again, unfortunately. But that's really who this guy is. And so it's a good ad at a pretty good price too.
Yeah. So 100 percentile in hard hit rate against, 97th percentile in barrel percentage. Opposing hitters are hardly ever getting quality contact off of Caleb Ferguson this year. 100th percentile on average exit velo. So opposing hitters are not hitting the ball hard whatsoever. They're actually chasing quite a bit against him as well. 30.2% chase rate. He's just not getting any whiffs right now. 7th percentile in whiff rate That's an 18.5% clip. And you look at his pitches across the board, the whiff rates on all of his offerings have gone down about anywhere from 10 to 15% from where they were last year. He has typically been a high strikeout guy. Last year, as I refresh the page here, he had an 11.1 Ks per nine. The year before that, 10.44 Ks per nine. The year before that, 9.61 Ks per nine. In 2020, he had a 13.02 Ks per nine, 10.88 Ks per nine the year before that, and 10.84 Ks per nine the year before that. The kind of the trade-off there, though, is that he's also posted higher walk rates in the past than he has this year. So overall, he's just pitching to contact more this year, which has led to the lower strikeouts and the lower amount of walks. And it's paying off for him for the most part. Again, he is generating a ton of weak contact. He's generating a ton of ground balls. And that's something that the Mariners could absolutely use their bullpen. So a nice little supplementary ad. You comp him to kind of the JT Chargois edition from last year. He's better than that for sure. Chargois was definitely just like a shot to take. Ferguson definitely has a bit more track record, especially as far as 2025 goes, than what Chargois had last year when they acquired him. But this is definitely like the supplementary ad, but this definitely makes the Mariners bullpen just a bit deeper and certainly a lot stronger. And look, we've seen it over the last few days, even when, Andres Munoz and Matt Brash and Edward Bizardo, those guys aren't available, things get really sketchy really fast. So it's nice to see them beef up the bullpen. And again, it doesn't seem like they might be done on that front. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by both Gametime and 5 Hour Energy. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a Mariners game, either by yourself or with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and suddenly you realize, I want to be in the stands. Well, that's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, folks, it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. And golf is all about good times with good people. And good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. For instant reactions following every Mariners game, be sure to tune in to the Mariners postcast with Anderson Hurst and Christopher Crawford, available on both the Locked On Mariners YouTube and podcast feeds. So the Mariners have acquired an arm. They have beefed up their bullpen a little bit here with Caleb Ferguson, but it seems like they want to do something a bit more significant. There have been reports all day long about Jhoan Duran, the Twins star reliever. Bunch of teams have been calling on him. It's been reports about the Dodgers and the Phillies and obviously the Mariners. And every report has basically said that the expectation is Duran is going to get traded before the day is over. And Joel Sherman, most recently, tweeted that the Mariners are trying to push to get this thing done with the Twins on Duran. We'll see if maybe they're also angling to include, a Harrison Bader or Willie Castro in that deal. Would love for them to be able to do that on either of those guys. I think either one of those guys would certainly help. Castro more so than Bader, but still. But yeah, the prize there obviously would be Duran, and that is going to be expensive. And that is a bit scary for me because, we've talked about this. I've talked about this on Locked On, talked about this on the Patreon show. Shopping at the very, very top shelf for relief talent is something that I'm not a huge fan of and what that typically costs teams. But that seems to be something that the Mariners want to accomplish here at this deadline. That seems to be what they've ultimately pivoted to. So, I get it, but I'm a bit scared about what this would look like if they do get this deal across the finish line. How are you feeling?
Yeah, very similar. By the way, since I know you guys care, I have secured the Caleb Ferguson card for my Jerry DePoto acquisition binder. Hoping to add a couple more before about 24 hours as we're recording this. So here's the deal, right? My philosophy in general is that you should be aggressive trading prospects because they're not very good. And there's just a low return value to most prospects, right? So you should be aggressive in trading prospects, particularly for proven major league talent, particularly for star major league talent, like all-star caliber players. Absolutely should. There's a caveat to that, and it is not for relievers, even the best ones. So I am worried that Seattle is about to overpay because, again, there's a big difference between trading for a year and 2 months of a Luis Castillo and what that cost you versus Duran in his 2+ years. You're going to be really lucky to get 150 innings out of him spread out over 2+ years. When you trade for a guy like Castillo, you're going to get 220 innings out of him over a year and 2 months. And he's going to be, you can count on him. He's more consistent because relievers, even the best, are volatile as all heck. You never know what days they're going to have it, what days they're not. And when you look at what they bring specifically to the table this year, you're going to get 20 innings. That's about it.
Yeah.
20 innings, maybe more if you get into the playoffs. But
right.
How much are 20 innings really going to impact your odds of making the playoffs? That's up for debate. I know they're 20 high leverage innings, so they're not just, any innings, but just in general, I don't think that you're ever going to get fair value back when you trade top prospects for a reliever. I would rather take the shot that those top prospects are, everyday players, because think about this, right? Like an elite year for a reliever, any reliever, is like a 2-win season. That is an elite reliever season. Cool. A 2-win player is just an average everyday major leaguer. Like that's the kind of impact we're talking about here. So Dylan Moore has been a 2-win player before, so it's just kind of one of those things where personally, I am always trade prospects. That's fine. You can replace them. They're probably not going to work out anyways. The caveat there, don't fall into the trap of trading for elite relievers because the deal almost never works out the way you want. Mm. So this is kind of a sketchy area for me. I'm a little concerned about how much they're willing to give up. I understand the desire. I understand, dreaming on that bullpen. I think you can achieve a similar bullpen without giving up, Colt Emerson or whatever. And I don't know if they're going to have to give up Emerson in this deal. I doubt it, but that is kind of, I'm sure what the Twins we're trying to get done. So just for Duran, straight up, if I'm giving up, just by way of example, if I'm giving up Laz Montez and Harry Ford for 2.5 years of Duran, I don't like that. And again, I am the trade the prospect guys. I am the guy who gets yelled at because I hate Laz Montez because I'm like, oh, he's probably not Yordan Alvarez, which means I hate him, obviously. So,
right.
And I'm still sitting here like that is a lot to give up for a guy who's going to give you 20 innings this year. But there's a non-zero chance he gets hurt or he's not very good for you next year, and you're just non-tendering him. So that 2.5 years actually turns into a 1.5 years. There are so many things that can go wrong with the
relievers. Are obviously incredibly volatile.
Mm-hmm. And that risk is just not as present with bats and with starters. So again, I don't mind giving up prospects for relievers. I really don't like giving them up for the top of the market guys because that has a really low return on your investment, more than likely. Now, you make a deep playoff run and Duran helps you get there. Obviously, that ends up being worth it. But the odds are stacked against you when you trade premium prospect for a guy who's going to give you maybe 70 innings a year.
Yeah. I
just don't like that math.
It's super risky. It is very, very risky. But obviously, like in a vacuum, like you add Duran now to, Ferguson and obviously Munoz and Brash and Spire and Bizardo. That's like bullpen of death, right? That sets you up very well for the final 2 months of the regular season and hopefully October. But then, taking a step back, trying to look more at the big picture here and looking also down the road, again, relievers of all kinds are incredibly volatile. That could go sideways very, very quickly. So, it's interesting. And I also just kind of wonder if, like, do you really need to shop at the very, very top shelf for relief talent? I don't think they do. They absolutely need bullpen help. Like, don't get me wrong. They need bullpen help. They need more on top of Caleb Ferguson. It's just, could they ultimately accomplish what they need to accomplish with just like a Phil Maton on top of Caleb Ferguson? Or, hey, maybe the Braves are actually willing to trade Pete Fairbanks, what have you? Could they do that? I think so, because I think Duran significantly exceeds what they just kind of like the bar that they need to clear here as far as the bullpen goes. But hey, like in general, just like talking about the player himself, like if they get Jhoan Duran, I'm not complaining about that specific aspect of it. So we'll see what it costs if they ultimately, push this thing across the finish line. Again, the Dodgers are heavily involved here, reportedly. Right. The Dodgers can offer a lot as well. So this is far from a sure thing. But last we have heard on Twitter, the Mariners are making a pretty strong push to get Duran. Speaking of returns, let's quickly touch on the return and the Caleb Ferguson deal. Jeter Martinez, that's obviously a name that I think anyone that has even mildly kept up with the Mariners farm system would recognize. So I've seen some reactions that are like, that's a little much for a couple of months of a lefty reliever. I'm fine with it though. This is a guy that he's 19 years old. He's had issues throwing strikes. I get there's like a little bit of a residual effect of like the Pablo Lopez's of the world and the Freddie Peralta's of the world, but it's going to take a lot for Jeter Martinez to, get to that point. And it honestly looks more likely that Martinez is not even going to sniff the big leagues rather than the other way around. So I'm totally fine with them taking a shot on Ferguson and using, someone like Martinez to take that shot. Because again, Martinez may never pitch in the big leagues.
And if he does, it's almost certainly going to be as a reliever. So there's a risk with everybody that you trade, but you shouldn't let that 0.0005% chance that he's, Pablo Lopez. You shouldn't let that stop you from trying to win in 2025 because, again, 99.99995% of the time, you traded nothing for a guy who's probably going to help you. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but it's totally fine trade. And when you kind of look at what another rental reliever went for earlier, was it Taylor Rogers or Tyler, whichever one?
Yeah.
He ended up costing the Mets 2 of their top 10 prospects and 2 guys who had made their major league debut already. Yeah. Pretty good value on a seller's market, particularly in the bullpen. So we'll see what they do with Duran. We'll see if they get Willie Castro. We'll see if they're still in on Gino and all of that. But it does sound like we're going to have a resolution on Duran today.
Yeah. Well, so this might not be the last time you guys hear from us tonight.
You might not even hear this episode before we
find out.
Have to record the next one.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right. That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.